Could someone say something so I can see if I can hear you all?
Pam, I'm trying to tell
Ah, okay, got you. Sorry.
Oh,
I
you can hear me?
Now I can. I couldn't before.
Okay, good. Um, does anybody else need a packet stuff at the table here? No? Okay. I just want to see if I can get it on speaker view. Raise hand. Ah, view. It is on speaker. Okay. I don't know why it's not showing. Okay. At least now I can see myself. Okay, so it is 7:01, so I think you can officially call the meeting to order. First up is roll call, so we'll start with myself, Christina Davis, I'm present. Judy Austin,
Present.
Paul Varga,
Here.
Tim Rhodes. I see you there, Tim. Can you say that you're present?
Do you want to put them up on the screen?
Yeah, I don't know why this isn't showing on the screen, actually.
Present.
Tim, yeah, hi, Tim, thanks.
Okay.
Keith Lipker,
Here.
okay, and alternates, Rob Chernick is not present. Val Pepin, is Val here? I don't see Val. And Kayla Plackey.
Here.
Great. So yeah, let me figure out why this isn't showing up on the screen. Oh, I have to drag it over, that's why. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Let me look at the agenda. Okay. Communications. Let's see. I got the answers from the school administration and the Board of Ed that the Board of Finance submitted. Thank you very much. I know it was a lot. So those were distributed electronically for those that are at home, and there are print copies here in person. I also communicated with Ashford representatives on Region 19 about their budget, and particularly the projections that are in that budget. So that's an agenda item, so we'll talk about that then. There is some conversations about trying to schedule a meeting with the sending towns for Region 19 to talk about rolling averages, but that hasn't been scheduled yet. And I corresponded with Lynn Jones, our assessor, about trying to get the motor vehicle grand list online prior to the public hearing so that people can do the math on what their motor vehicle taxes are. Because you can look up your property assessment pretty easily right now, but for motor vehicles, there isn't a way to look that up online. So she thinks she can do that, post a PDF. So, and we'll talk more about motor vehicle taxes and what that's gonna look like. All right, let's see. The other conversation I had actually happened to be today. There was some confusion from one board member about what budget was being presented tonight. And she had submitted some questions for the fire department. So I ended up having a conversation with Paul, just saying that we don't have to, we're not talking about the general government budget tonight. And the topic of conflicts of interest came up. We did have a town attorney opinion regarding this issue a couple years ago. So I would just like to add to the agenda this evening a conversation about conflicts of interest. So would someone be willing to make a motion to add that to the agenda. Sorry, under item E.
So moved.
Okay, so Keith made that motion. Would someone second it?
I'll
Second it.
second.
Okay, we'll say that was Judy. Thank you. So we'll add that to the agenda. Thank you. Okay, next up we have approval of minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes from February 5th. And I will drag this. Ooh. Oh, sorry. It's not going to let me. There it is. All right. So I'll put these on, I'll share these on the screen. Give me 1 second.
There's people in the waiting room too.
Oops. People in the waiting room. View. If we could just make a note at 7:06, Val Pepin, an alternate, joined. I'm having technical issues here. Okay, let's try this again. I want to see this. There it is. Now I'm going to share screen 2. I'm going to call this up. Okay, so here are the meeting minutes. Did anybody, or can I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes for February 5th?
Also move.
Okay, Pam Summers made the motion, and a second.
Second.
Keith Lipker seconded the motion. Any edits for these minutes? Okay.
So, sorry,
oh,
it's Val.
uh-huh.
I think I was there in person and it says Zoom. I don't know if that matters, but under number 2.
Yeah, we can correct that. I don't really remember, to be honest with you, but if you say you were in person, I'll remember.
I'm pretty sure I was there.
I think you were because you helped me with the TV screen.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so we can make a note of that edit. So we'll approve the minutes with the edit that Val Pepin was in person, not on Zoom. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, all right. All right, so next on the agenda is the Select Women's Update. So,
There's no update. I've been busy.
okay, very good. Let's see. Next up is presentation of the Ashford Board of Ed budget for 2026-2027. So thank you to the representatives of the school and the Board of Ed that are here this evening. So what I can do is call that presentation up. Not ready yet. Okay. I have to get the technical stuff set up. Okay, share. Okay, can everybody see this presentation on the screen? It says Ashford School estimated budget 26-27.
I think you're sharing your other screen. I think you're sharing your other screen.
Am I?
You could do it as a slideshow.
Yeah, go into slideshow.
Oh, I know. I just want to know if they can see this. People on Zoom, what are you seeing on your screen?
I can see the Zoom screen.
You see Zoom, you don't see the school presentation?
I only see the headline of it that says February 19th, Ashford Board of Finance meeting. I don't see the school.
You'll see in a minute.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think you may have shared the wrong screens.
Oh, do I need to do screen 2? Maybe that's what it is. All right, what about now?
There it is. That's
There it
it.
is.
Okay, great. Let's see if I can do that. And now, where's the button to make
On
it
the top. See it, slideshow?
slideshow? There we go. Okay, great. Everything is different. PowerPoint's got it in one spot. This has got it in another. This silly thing is hanging out in the middle. I don't know why. All right, let's do that. Okay, now, Shantae, you wanted to say something it looks like? All right. So for folks on Zoom, if you can't see, Shantae Fields, who is chair of the Board of Ed, is addressing us. So yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, members of the Board of Finance and members of our Board of Selectmen and members of our Ashford community at large. My name is Shantae Fields. I am the chair of your Ashford Board of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Board of Education's estimated expenditures for the upcoming fiscal year. We are seeking a 3.38% increase. This estimate reflects a simple but vital goal: to provide every student in our district with tools, opportunities, and support that they need to succeed, academically, socially, and emotionally. Every line of this proposal was built with purpose. We have worked carefully to balance educational priorities with fiscal responsibility, knowing that we are stewards not only of our children's future, but of our community's resources. This budget maintains our commitment to high-quality instruction, the community's desire to keep classes small, safe and well-maintained facilities, and the recruitment and retention of exceptional educators. It is also important to recognize that this is a union negotiation year. Our last 2 rounds of negotiations required mediation in order to reach resolution, and we have responsibly planned a budget that prepares for that process while maintaining sustainability for students and staff. In addition, this proposal reflects the reality of over 380 unfunded state mandates that districts are required to implement regardless of local budget conditions. These mandates continue to shape how we allocate resources, even as we work to preserve local priorities. We understand the financial challenges facing our town, and we do not make this request lightly. Our goal is not to spend more, but to invest smarter, to ensure that every dollar we receive continues to return value to our students, families, and community as a whole. Together, we have the opportunity to sustain the excellence our residents expect and our students deserve. On behalf of the Board of Education, I thank you for your partnership, your diligence, and your continued support of our shared mission, providing the best possible education for every child in our community.
Thank you very much.
I'll just go through the slideshow. You did have the questions given to us, so I did add a few slides to try to address those questions, but I also have answered all of the questions and sent them ahead of time. I know I didn't get them to you until this afternoon, but there was quite a bit, and it did take quite a bit of time just to, we had Monday and Tuesday off, so it was fast forward. So I just, if you want to go through the slides.
Yes, I wonder, Cindy, would you mind sitting in that chair just so you're a little bit closer, just so that people can hear you?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
Oh wait,
So-
I've got some people in the waiting room. Hold on. Okay. Oh. Shall I go to the next one, or do you want me
No,
to keep
this
it
is
here?
just indicate, this is just showing you where it goes. It's just students in various activities throughout the building, in all grade levels. We're pre-K through 8, and there's a lot of very creative opportunities students have throughout the building. We try to do as many hands-on activities, combining our educational experience, not only with technology, but also with paper pencil, creating things like cardboard houses and using cardboard for different things. They do pumpkin activities to count the seeds for math. There's just a lot of creativity that goes into the education of the students. Teachers are extremely creative in how they fund those. We have teachers that search for grants. I do believe that, our teachers know that it can be fiscally challenging. So instead of not doing things within their classrooms, they do look for other ways to fund activities through grants or other avenues. So if you just go ahead and go to the next one, just a cute,
Hold on. There.
that's what makes up Ashford School. It's everything, the people, the kids, but the center of it all are the students. And I can guarantee that the discussions during Board of Education meetings are centered around the students. Discussions during administrative meetings are centered around the students. Around all the PLCs, which are professional learning communities. Teachers meet as grade level, teams, and the discussion is around the students and providing the best education for our students and our community. Just to give, you can go ahead to the next one. Some of the results of the education budget. We have increased in all areas. So we have made small incremental improvements. We have done, a lot of implementation of math programs, reading programs, looking at the social, emotional wellness of our kids, making sure that we're meeting the needs of our students within the classroom. And we also have the state standardized testing that, obviously our kids need to do, and we are making improvements. You can see that, each year it has gone up. I'm only showing you the two from one year to the next, but I will tell you, since we have implemented the math and the reading program and the new science program, we have made tremendous gains. And science has been, a huge increase in our science scores. Our kids get science all the way from kindergarten up. So they all go and see Dr. Levine and get that. And then in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, it's also part of their rotation of classes. So we do very well in our science. And then the next screen, this is just some of the acronyms that you might see. I did see that was a question in your set of questions, and this was already created, and I probably should have shared at least some of the screens with the Board of Finance so that you would be clear on some of the acronyms. Education loves to use these. So that's some of them, and then the next page next screen is more. These are more of the educational ones. The first screen was a lot of the, IEPs and PPTs, but, the MOE, which is maintenance of effort, that was on the last screen. But these are more of the people and systems that we use. ESY was one of the questions, extended school year. And yes, it's very specific to IEP services. That has been decreased for next year. We have a large number of students graduating, which will not be needing extended school year, so we could reduce some of that budget. We reduce when we can.
So you're saying, so there's a large number of students that need extended year currently?
That would have qualified for extended school year. It's just summer. It's like summer school.
Right, and it just so happens that there's a large number that are graduating.
We have a large number of students graduating that are special education, yes.
Got
it. We have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade they were your kindergarten, first grade, and second graders during COVID. So we have a larger number of students that require specialized instruction. The next screen just starts your, these are the overall estimates. It just gives you a visual of what you see on, your line by line. It's just a different way to look at it. It's your overall salary increase, benefit increase, maintenance increase, salaries increase. Those are your major groupings. We're asking for a 3.38% increase. The next screen gives you the teachers' classroom sizes, number of teachers within each grade level. We split them into groupings. 7 and 8 are four teachers, and they are combined 7 and 8. 5, 6 each have 3 teachers, each teaching them major subjects, and social studies is mixed in with, they call it social literacy, language arts. So these are your numbers for number of students. And just to note, we project for next year to be 354. Last year we projected 351 and we have 371. We had a large increase in students moving in from outside of the district. The next screen is your intervention teachers and specials teachers. Intervention covers MTSS, which is the multi-tiered support systems. That is one of our unfunded mandates. We have to ensure that students are receiving intervention in reading, math, social emotional, which would be like behavioral supports. So we have a whole system where teachers have to track goals around students. We do district testing, and then that district testing will flag certain students needing additional support that is even beyond the classroom teacher. So these are, your elementary intervention, secondary, that's your math and your reading. We have a computer science person that works in the library and teaches the kids, computer science. And elementary science, which is what I already talked about. We have middle school Spanish in the budget, and this year we were unable to find somebody. We still have that posting out there. We are still looking for a middle school Spanish teacher, so it is still in the budget. We also did a survey, which I will go over in a little bit, but one of the school community survey requests is to ensure that there is world language, and one of them, making sure that we have a language that matches what our, sending school, which is E.O. Smith, has. So Spanish is one of them, French, and German when we had a German teacher. So, our ad is just for a world language teacher. So we'll take, we do have somebody in that is working in world language. She is here on a grant. Each year we have to take a little bit from that grant and put it into the general budget. You go out for these grants, you have to follow what the rules are around those grants. So she provides us the opportunity to have our kids learn, all about the Egyptian culture and language, and kids love going to her classes.
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
the Spanish teacher? So is that an issue? There's just like not enough Spanish teachers in the world right now? Or,
World
I'm sorry,
language.
world language teachers?
Yeah,
And
Huge
that's,
shortage.
a lot of other districts are having the same issue, right?
Correct.
I think Coventry had to do the
Yeah,
Rosetta
that's,
Stone
we
thing.
did the Rosetta Stone. Coventry, Wellington is doing Rosetta Stone, all for the same reasons. You just can't find world language teachers.
no bueno.
Uh, the next one is just the special education support, just breaks down what we have in the building.
Oh, sorry. I got another waiting room. Okay. Should I go to the next one?
Yep. One of the questions asked about paraprofessionals. And it's just important also, I think often it's felt that we come and you are asked to make the hard decisions whether we're going to cut staff or not. And we have cut staff. We have in the past cut, paraprofessionals when students graduate. We don't keep them on, we don't keep it on just trying to get it through in a budget. We cut it before we come to the Board of Finance. So cuts are always being made where they can be made. Our jobs are also to make sure that we are adhering to, what the community wants. And this is just this screen is just a count of what our central staff and front office staff are. The next one is our community survey results. So here you can see what the priorities from our community. So when we're building our budget, we take into account what our community wants. Small class sizes, academic programming, professional development, expanding enrichment programs. These are all the things that are, sitting at the table with us when we are discussing what is going into the budget and what cuts need to be made or what can be made, what teachers can be moved around. We creatively move teachers around every year. So a teacher this year is in 5th grade or 6th grade or 4th grade this year. Next year, we will need another 1st grade teacher. So we're not asking for a 1st grade teacher. We're going to move staff around. And we've been doing that for years. Rather than coming and asking for more teachers, we, where a bubble might be a smaller class, then one year it might be a smaller class, and then the next year, so we can move a teacher out of that grade level, then the next year that class might be, 38 kids. So split between 2 in a younger grade, we have made a commitment that we will keep the class sizes, especially in the younger grades, smaller, so that, they have better opportunities for teacher involvement. So maintaining programs we have in place is extremely important. Plan to access grant funding for school professional development. After-school clubs and athletics is a high priority. It's something that in our survey that we got a lot of very positive feedback about, the opportunities that our kids have in such a rural community.
I'm sorry. There people are like laughing and stuff. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
1 second, everybody. I'm just going to tell people to pipe down. 1 minute.
I have a question though. So what's the teachers' opinions on changing grades? Of like, you know, one year they're teaching fourth grade versus first grade, you know, that kind of thing? I mean, is that good to where it's a change for them, you know, doing the different grades, or would they prefer to, you know, stay in their specific grade? I don't know how, like, you know, what
How that's done?
the education of their specialty is.
Sometimes, well, we always ask. We always ask for, you know, if somebody is interested in changing grade levels.
Yeah.
You know, 9 times out of 10, somebody will raise their hand and say, yeah, I'll do it, because they're ready for a change, or, you know, I'm of the mindset that change is sometimes really good, because it creates a learning opportunity.
Okay.
So, I'm sure they don't love that it could happen, but we're always very clear, even when we do hire, that, you know, yes, you're hired for, but a certain grade level.
Okay.
But it could change, because we're a small school, and we all kind of, and our special ed staff, the same thing happens too. So they might be supporting grade 7, 8 one year and 5, 6 the next year, or you know, grades 3, 4 or 5, 6. They switch all the time, and that can be very challenging. Sometimes a special ed teacher might have to move with certain kids, just because it's bubbles. So, you know, it's hard to look at numbers and say, oh, that class is so small, you can go down a staff. Yeah, but that's only looking at it for that year. You know, for instance, this coming year is going to be a large first grade class, because our kindergarten class is large. But the year before, our first grade class was very, very small. So that now will move through the grade levels. So whatever grade level that class goes into, you know, if we don't already only have 2, which we're pretty close to all being only 2.
Okay.
Except for the older grades. Next one is just to show special education budget. It's 19% for the projected 19% of the budget for next year. Special education always seems to be a hot topic. And it is, you know, it is one of the areas that can change in a moment. It just takes movement of kids moving in or out of district. It can change very quickly. So these are just showing you the percentages of, in a graph. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions. It's the next like 4 or 5 slides, where it's just the specific salaries, benefits, student services, purchase services in their areas.
Next one.
If you want to go to the next one. That's our insurances, benefits for employees.
Are we good in the audience? We good? Yeah, thank you.
The projected, so, you know, Bob makes a good point. The projected, we're coming in at 10% for our insurance, but the insurance is, as of right now, 12 to 15% projection. But they projected 10 to 12% last year. They came in at, go back one.
Okay. This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 10%. It's actually, they are making a projection of 12 to 15%, but last year they said 10 to 12%, and they actually came in at 8%, so we went with 10% for this year to budget. Student services, again, just kind of showing you a different way. Some people like to see the visuals. You know, student services is, so the biggest change in this is we have no outplaced students anticipated as of right now. We don't like to leave that line 0 because that can change, like I said, very quickly. They're very expensive. So we do have a placeholder in there of $60,000 in the budget. But we currently do not have any outplacements that will be there next year. Purchase services is the next one. We are doing non-certified contract negotiations this coming year during the 26-27. No increase in the IT contract for our IT support. And then supplies. Just where it all
Oh,
goes.
everybody likes to talk about gas prices.
Yes. And then the next slide is this per pupil expenditure by sending schools. This performance profile came out for the 24-25 school year. So this just shows total number of administrators, per pupil expenditure, total non-certified staff, student enrollment, which it's actually 7, I have here 7, it's, oh, because according to our performance profile, it was 351. So.
So you're saying that number was higher?
Last year?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was 370 last year. Thank you. Yes. But,
That would
so,
lower the per
yes,
pupil
because in
expenditure.
2020, what they do, this is from a state report.
Uh-huh.
They take a snapshot on October 1st.
Oh, okay.
So,
So it could change.
Whatever
October
that number
2nd.
is October 1st, that's your number for the whole year.
Okay.
So it changes.
Well, that's an important caveat because people love to focus on that per pupil spending.
Yes.
And if you add, how many is that?
20
19?
students.
19 students, that's going to change that calculation
Yes.
significantly.
But the smaller your school is, the more the per pupil.
More it's going to swing.
Yeah. Management responsibilities, this is just the next one. I was just trying to give some sort of, give you all an idea of the work and the management responsibilities that, I know there is always talk out there about how we have too many administrators. And we have a lot of management responsibilities, not only of the students' management with the teachers, obviously, but we also, you're doing evaluations on all those staff, in the, the US average management in business is 12.1. So, but in our school, we manage 22.5 per administrator. And then I think I have one more. Yeah. So this is just showing you the historical requests, what the Board of Ed has requested, what the Board of Finance has put forward to the town and has gone through the referendum. And I'm just showing the difference of inflation rates in COLA. Even in years that there were large increases in inflation and in COLA, we still, we came in at 3% or 4%. Or we were cut down to, well below those inflation rates. And, everybody needs to remember those inflation rates affect our supplies. When we go to order those supplies, everything costs more expensive. So zeroing out a budget, not being able to increase a line when you still need supplies the following year is difficult. You know, I love Ashford School. I love what we provide as a community, as a whole. I love the community as a whole. I raise my family here, my children. I've worked here for 24 years, and I completely understand the fiscal challenges throughout the town. I also know that there are certain things, you know, I fear that when we're talking that it's such a bad year, and each of us need things throughout the town. It's not just the school, and I understand that, but, you know, you're talking about safety, you're talking about educating our kids, you're talking about, you know, things that our town relies on. I think it's I understand you have a very difficult job, but also I think it's important to understand that a lot of passion goes into all of our positions. You know, I'm here obviously to advocate for the school. I feel very strongly that what we have put together and what the Board of Ed has put forward to the Board of Finance is a very fine-tooth comb looked at and pared down to what is needed to maintain the progress that we have made. And I think that that's the important piece. It's not like we're staying stagnant. We are making progress. And, you know, there is a group of extremely dedicated employees within that school that care deeply about the students in this town. So.
Thank you very much.
No.
Very eloquently said, I think, and from the heart, I can tell.
Yes.
Don't run away yet.
Okay.
Because there might be questions. I do just want to note, I skipped over public comment. So after we conclude discussion of the presentation this evening, answer questions, I'll open it up for public comment because I don't want to not allow that. And we do actually have some public attending, so maybe we'll get some comment. So I guess next I would just ask Board of Finance members, you submitted very thoughtful questions, and just for everybody to know what the process was. So we got this budget estimate last Friday, and the Board of Finance members reviewed it over the weekend and submitted questions by Monday at 6 p.m. And then we forward those on to the Board of Ed and to Cindy, and they very quickly came back with very thorough responses. But we are just seeing these this evening. So I would just ask the Board of Finance members if you can look at this document, whether you have it physically in front of you or if you have it electronically. If there are questions that you ask that you don't feel like there was a sufficient answer, or if you have a follow-up question, now is a good time to ask that.
Can I comment on something?
Sure.
As I'm reading through the questions, one of the questions was about the special education legal expenses. I also, I know that the town often asks about regionalization and how much can we share services with other towns. So I am currently working with Willington and trying to come up with a presentation to our boards of education to regionalize some services within the special education department. We've talked about a couple of different things, you know, that being programming. We've talked a little bit about transportation, but not full transportation, just within special education. So we're looking at different avenues to combine where we can and use, so there's new seed money that is out there, which is special education, expansion and development. So it has to be a brand new program. It can't be something that we already have in the building. So this would be an expansion. We would be trying to do something with Wellington that would benefit both towns and be able to maybe save money in using services outside of our district, so contracted services.
And that's state money, state
That
funded.
is, some of it would be state funded, some of it would be come through the Board of Education budget, but it's sharing a position with Wellington. It would be a combined contract. So actually regionalizing that program.
So Board of
Oh, yeah,
Finance.
that was the legal expenses, so that we can use our legal expertise to make sure we're doing the right kind of contract and services, programming.
Do Board of Finance members have any follow-up questions?
Christina, it's Paul. I have 2 questions.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one is in response to my question about the iPads. I stated that I thought that should be a
Paul, I'm
capital
sorry.
expense.
Paul, excuse me.
Yep.
Could you tell us what number question you're referring to?
Number 8.
Number 8, okay, thanks.
The iPad purchases, I said that I thought it should be a capital expense, and the Board of Ed said no, and I'm struggling to understand how $27,000 worth of technical equipment that's not an everyday maintenance purchase or maintenance item wouldn't be a capital expense.
Because it's part of the curriculum and programming and not.
I mean, so what you're saying is every year you're going to be purchasing 50 iPads?
Yes. We're rotating through, we've been doing this for, I don't know, this is
Before COVID?
before COVID. This has been, and it used to be laptops that were purchased every year. So we went from MacBooks to iPads, and it's not thought of as a capital expenditure because it's part of curriculum programming needs for students.
And the life expectancy is only 5 or 6 years. It's
Right.
Not 15 or 20.
Oh, like a typical capital expense would be a
Yeah.
longer term thing. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I mean, capital expenses are usually those big projects of boilers and
One-time
buildings.
expenditures.
So, and then Cindy, then to follow up on that, because my follow-up question is what were we doing? And I don't know, I think she broke the question out, but what do we do, to recover cost? And the answer was that we push them down to the lower grades, so basically grades 5 through 8. So when those iPads, so that's 4 years, right? Or 5, 6, 7, 4 years. So at the end of 4 years, what happens to those iPads?
They go down into our elementary, they'll be used in, iPad carts, or they usually have five iPads at 4 like different centers that they pull out. So they will go down into like the elementary level grades, the ones that survive 4 years with a student. right?
And then the
And
next,
grades 1 through 3. 1 through 4.
Okay.
1 through 4.
It just seems like an awful lot of money on technology that I don't necessarily think belongs in a classroom, but that's my personal thing. Um, Number 9, the Starlink thing. This one I really struggle with because Starlink needs power too. So when you have a power outage, how does Starlink and that expense? I just don't understand it.
The connection would be connected
Because
to the backup generator.
we have a generator, so the
Okay,
generator would be on.
so your CN modem is not connected to a backup generator?
Yes, but we have had 2 instances where we had no electricity. The generator was on, but the internet was down. And it is an extremely unsafe situation for kids to be in classrooms, and teachers need to rely on, if their cell phone will work, they need a backup situation for the classroom phones to work. So that's why we have Starlink. So yeah, we've had it, we've lived it. We've lived a few times where you're right. The question was, don't you just cancel school? Well, yes, but we sometimes are in the building and buses, might be on the high school run, need to come back. So we might be in the building for a couple of hours. Parents are trying to reach the school. There's no way, our phones aren't ringing because they're not working because the internet is down. I can take that off of actual situations that have
Oh, no,
happened.
actually, I was involved in one of those situations on the fire department sides. I understand that. I don't disagree. I guess it's an expense that you have to weigh the cost benefit. And I don't understand why the internet from CN would be down and the Starlink wouldn't be down. There's somebody didn't do their research to figure out how to get that hooked up. Mostly because both myself and the town use CN exclusively, and the phone problem is a separate issue. Depending, you guys use voice over internet through CN, so if you have Frontier, it does the same thing if they go down. But that's all. I have a problem with that one. There's got to be a better answer than spending money on something entirely different. That's all my questions. Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Christina.
Is that something that other districts are using, Starlink, or are we unique in that?
I never wanted to be in a situation where we had no phones in classrooms because it's just unsafe.
So you don't know if other districts do it or not, or?
I didn't ask if other districts are doing it. I asked for our technology people to figure out how we can have phones if in case of an emergency, there's no way to communicate with classrooms other than walkie-talkies.
So this was a recommendation from Savage?
They researched to find out how we could get the phones working. This was their fix.
Okay. But I think that's important to note that it was by a professional IT organization.
They worked on it for a while. It took them a few months they tested it to make sure, and then, did a couple different workarounds to see if they could do other ways, and we couldn't. I needed to guarantee that those classroom phones are working.
Other questions, either from people in the room? Kayla?
Well, I kind of wanted to go off of that. So is this the only safety improvement, or are there others that are kind of in the budget as well?
Yeah, I mean, we have cameras, we have, alarms and things like that, that are we have a list of cameras that are gonna be needing to be updated. They will just stop working.
Yeah.
So, that is part of our safety, yes.
Well, because is it part of like supplies, is it something specific that you budgeted
It
for?
was one of the questions that further on down,
Oh, and the question.
Someone asked.
yeah,
us
somebody asked
Oh,
about
okay.
the fire safety.
Oh, maybe I didn't get that.
Close to the end.
Then I definitely didn't get that.
If I can make a comment, I would think you have to be a little bit circumspect about what you're divulging about your safety
Correct.
things, because we don't necessarily advertise all that to the public for obvious reasons.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, I guess so. It's just the alarms and then the Starlink image.
Other follow-up questions?
I did have one other one too. I guess. So you mentioned earlier, I guess at the end of your presentation, that obviously all the increases there to pretty much increase the scores. So at what point, or at what score, where you'll start to kind of level out the increases? I mean, ideally. So like, for example, you increased math from 64 to 66. So is it your target kind of 70 to where then you won't necessarily implement more activities or curriculum or things like that? I mean, obviously we're always trying to improve to get 100, but is there ever going to be like a plateau kind of to level out kind of the increases?
I just used the numbers of testing for purposes of data, because just to give hard data. But I mean, I don't believe that the success of a school or a student is based on a test. So we are always looking to improve the educational environment for our students, and finding ways to keep kids motivated and excited to come to school and learn within the classroom environment. To remember what education isn't what it was when we were in school. We have minds that need to be, motivated to learn. So, in order to motivate one to learn, they have to find something interesting enough. So it's challenging to make sure that you're consistently keeping up with what motivates a young mind to continue to learn and grow. And so I can't give you a number that would satisfy. I don't think as an educator I should ever say that I'd be satisfied with any number, because I want all students to succeed to the best of their ability, and that's what we all are in the building are striving for.
Can I say something? Also on that, you always want those scores to increase, right? So whatever the numbers are right now for, say, 6th and 7th grade, those kids age out, and then you have a new set of kids who you want to make sure that they are at that same level or better than those 6th and 7th graders. So it's not once we get to 65%, we're just gonna stop trying, because those kids that have already reached the top, now they've gone on to go to high school and college and do better things, but then our job turns to the next generation that's coming through. So I don't believe that there can ever be a number where we say, well, if we get test scores to this, then we just stop, because those tests come every single year, and those tests change every year. We don't set those tests, the state does. So whatever The state decides how they're gonna test it. We don't get a say in that.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, then I think we can move on. Thank you so much for your presentation. There might be follow-up questions. There will probably be additional, meetings as we go through the process. So this isn't the last word by any means, but a very good start, I think, to bringing us all up to speed. As I mentioned, I do want to open it up to public comment if anybody would like to, either in the room or on Zoom. Anyone? Anyone?
Oh, in the room.
In the room. Okay, go ahead, Kim.
I wasn't going to. Kim Kowatly, Kouatly, Eastford Road. First, I have 3 kids that all went through Ashford School. My oldest is a sophomore at UConn, mechanical engineering. My middle is graduating this year from Smith, and my youngest is a freshman at Yale. They had amazing teachers, amazing opportunities. I also, for a brief time, was a teacher, not at Ashford, a different school, and I'm currently do finance. And I understand budget constraints. One thing I want to kind of piggyback on to what Shantae was saying is there's requirements the state throws. There's the unfunded mandates, but also because of COVID, they require the schools to do certain types of curriculum, their programs. They said, hey, choose from this group of math, you have to choose one. We're not paying for it, choose it. From these reading programs, you have to do these. From these assessment programs, you have to do. So this also came down from the state, so a lot of the stuff that's implemented at Ashford has been from the state requirements. So it's not where we said, oh, let's pick a program and see how well. I'm also on the Board of Ed. Should have added that. These programs have been required. So they're doing a great job, and they pilot and they try to we're looking at how much they cost and which ones work best in the classroom and with the students, and for the differentiation. Because once again, these students now we're seeing in the class, you have a bigger gap between your highest level and your lowest level in these classrooms. So you're finding these programs that work for all those students, but they are required from the state. So this is another challenge that the board and the administrators have been going with, is finding that balance between finances and what will work best in the classroom. And that is allowed, supposed to be done by the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
In the room.
In the room again. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff Silversmith, 95 Seacar Road. I'm a bit of a data dweeb, so I just wanted to touch upon one of the areas, the per pupil expenditure, which again, just like the number of pupils, the per pupil expenditure really strikes home for a lot of people. And I really appreciate the comparison of different school districts in the area and how they compare. I would say the one thing that, to be sure, it might even be, going forward when you have your asterisk at the bottom, everyone wants to be Columbia. Everybody wants to have, less than 20,000 per pupil. And the thing is, to make people aware that there's a lot that goes into that number, everything from median household income in the area, their tax base, all those things that help to offset, because it is a difference of 93 students is what you're talking about between the two. But again, just getting across, there are, just like comparing fire departments, and I'm sure Paul would attest to this, comparing fire departments does not work when you only have a few demographics that you're using. So a lot of times there's a lot of things that go in to that number besides, even the 4 categories that are here. So just to make that clear to the populace itself.
I'll add something too. Warren Wilson, 153 Mansfield Road. I have 2 kids go through the system. Both are very successful now. I spent 10 years on the Board of Education in Ashford. I met Cindy when she was doing special ed. I met Polly when we were on the Board of Ed together. I think that we're very lucky to have the administration that we have. I think we need to work hard to keep them. I think that they know what they're doing. We should just trust them. And I understand the restraints as well, because I am the registrar of voters in Ashford. Actually, Shantae is now, but and we get mandated by the state the same way, where we have to spend the money whether we want to or whether you give it to us or not, because you can't tell us that we can't have an election. But I just wanted to put in a good word for the administration and say that I wish that when I was on the Board of Ed for 10 years, I had an administration that worked like this.
Thank you. Oh, Eddie Carvalho, go ahead.
How you doing? Eddie Carvalho, Pompey Hollow Road. I just wanted to make a comment on the Starlink versus CEN fiber network. So, the CEN fiber network is a physical fiber, while Starlink would be a satellite backup. So it's not really protecting against a power outage, it's protecting against a fiber outage. And many places, a school included, have, or schools included, have failovers for their IT infrastructure, which is important for safety.
Well, and I think it should also note, that's very important to note, is that our cell phones don't work in the building. So they work in only certain spots in the building. So, correct.
You get near a window.
Yeah, so it's a huge safety concern.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I think we can move on. Thank you, everybody. I did just want to touch upon the next item on the agenda is review of the Region 19 Superintendent's budget. So this was distributed on the same day that we got the Board of Ed budget, so February 13th, which is last Friday. I just want to share the headline. I believe there are print copies available in the town hall. That's part of the deal. They have to share those. Region 19. So the Region 19 budget request right now. Oh, wait a minute. Let me find, I put it in my email. I don't want to go through that document that's 50 million pages long. Let me just look up my notes. Bear with me. Here it is. Okay. So the request for Region 19 thus far is a 3.9% increase over last year. And so just to remind everybody and new board members and members of the public, so Region 19 is the high school. It's a separate board, the Region 19 school board, and it's made up of representatives from Ashford, Mansfield, and Wellington. And so we as a Board of Finance and as people at in this community directly, can't control that number. That number that we get from Region 19, which will likely come down from 3.9%, just in the negotiation process. But like this board can't control that number. And so we have to keep that in mind as we go through our process. The other thing I did want to note in that superintendent's budget, it says that Ashford's share of the Region 19 budget is expected to increase from 19.6% this school year up to 25.5% in 2030, 2031. So they have projections going out about 5 years. So I emailed our representatives on Region 19, the 3 Ashford representatives, and alerted them to that in the document because that's very concerning. If Ashford's share of that budget continues to go up, that's going to put increasing pressure on the general government budget and the Ashford school budget. And now they are projections, and they are going to be I did hear back from our Region 19 representative who said, you know, he's going to raise this issue and dig a little bit more into those projections and how they are formulated. Maybe they're totally based on nothing and not realistic at all, but maybe they are. And I think we need to be aware of it as a community if they are. So more information to come on that. Catherine, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. And I want us to keep in mind the fact that Region 19 is looking at rolling averages so that it softens the spikes that the individual towns have based upon student population attending the school. And they have scheduled their meeting to talk about that. It's Wednesday, March 11th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I'll add, and you are correct to point out that they are exploring the rolling average idea, but with that projection of that level of increase, a rolling average isn't going to help us. It's going to, because if we're up, a rolling average just means we'll go up a little bit less. A rolling average would help. In the past, we've typically gone up and down from year to year. One year it's Ashford paying the most, next year it's Wellington, and it's gone like this. What we're seeing in the projections, and I think this is a function of the demographics in these towns, is Mansfield's student population has decreased at a greater rate than Ashford's. And
Wellington's.
And Wellington's. And so the two smaller towns are being put in a position to fill that void. And if that continues, if that trend continues, that's again just going to be more of a pressure on Wellington and Ashford. You look very puzzled, Polly.
I just find the discussion interesting is all.
Okay.
I know we're projecting 5 years out, but as you even see with our population, that it can so quickly change that I just would hate to see us get too focused in on the concerning piece of that, because it may not be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, and that's why I'm
Yes,
talking about like looking at how are those projections done. I can say based on the numbers that I looked at, all the districts put together the 10-year trend, what the student population has happened, what's happened over the last 10 years. Mansfield's went down by 23%, whereas Wellington and Ashford went down more like 12%. So we're like the average in Connecticut, and Mansfield is precipitously bigger. And that's why you see they shut down 2 schools and built a new one. That was because they saw the numbers and went, oh, we've got a new reality to deal with here. And I think it has to do with the increase in UConn enrollment has pushed families out of Mansfield at a more significant rate than it has in our towns. So I don't want to be obsessed over it, but I think we have to think about it because it's it's a large chunk of our budget and one that this board can't control. So we need to think about it, we need to talk about it, we need to engage with Region 19 and have these conversations. All of us as a community. Sometimes people are like, oh, well, we can't do anything about Region 19. Yes, you can. You can go to the meetings, you can participate, just like you can show up at this meeting. So, yeah.
And I'd like to say that the people who are on Region 19 and the management in Mansfield are well aware that they need the support of the other 2 towns in order to get their budget passed, okay? Not have it come in super close, because that's making a statement too. So there's something to be said for that as well.
Okay, so Region 19. I want to talk next about the reval's impact on the budget. I spent a good amount of time digging into the numbers this weekend, and I wanted to share a few things. I want to share screen too. See, it has the handy number 2 up there. I didn't notice that last time.
I didn't notice that either.
All right. I'm not going to maximize it. Let's see, can I get this out of the way? Okay. Can folks on Zoom see that? This says comparison to 2021 reval.
Just make it a little bigger.
They can probably
Yeah.
see it on Zoom, it's hard to see it in the room.
Oh, I can make it.
Yeah, just a little.
Okay,
You can see
Zoomers,
it.
can you see it? Yes? Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted to, so I looked at the data from the 2021 reval and the data from the current reval. And I just wanted to compare for everybody so they understand that if you take a look at last reval's increase for real estate was 18%. Is it still too small? I see people
If
squinting.
you just,
How's that?
there's few enough numbers, you can just say them.
Yeah, so real estate, last time we had a reval went up 18%. This time, it went up 40%. So that's more than double. It's a very different ballgame. And people were very concerned at the last time we had this, so they're gonna be very concerned this time. The other thing to look at is the motor vehicles line only increased by 1%. So that is gonna mean that people's taxes on their cars, pretty much no matter what, are gonna likely go down, unless you get a brand new car. But if you have the same cars, all things being equal, your car taxes should go down. But they're only gonna go down like $60, so it's not enough to make up the difference. This chart shows how the kind of the makeup of our grand list has changed. And this is something that's happened across Connecticut. So our the portion of our grand list that's real estate is 87% now. It was 84%. So that means homes are now responsible for a bigger chunk of the budget than they were previously. And that's why when we start looking at the mill rate calculator and what all this stuff does to people's taxes, it's going to be more pronounced, to choose a neutral term. And this is happening across Connecticut. I just was looking at the town of Fairfield is also undergoing their reval, and they are having the exact same conversations and experiencing the exact same thing. This shift, basically, the organizations that do these revals, you know, they look at the data and they go, commercial property is worth way less today than it was 5 years ago. Your home is worth double what it was. So now you're responsible for more of that budget, if that makes sense. And then this chart shows, I took all the data from 2021, what that percentage increase. So every single home in the town, what their assessed value increase was. Some people's went up by 5%, some people went by 10. It's like a document of thousands of numbers. And then I organized it kind of into bands. So what percentage or what number of homes fell into each of these categories. So you can see the chart on the left is the last reval, and it's a pretty normal distribution. And I use that term in the math sense. If you remember from statistics, a normal distribution is that bell curve. And this year, oh, it's not even on the screen. This year, we're all over on the right side. So last go around, the pain was kind of spread across. This time, everybody's in that bucket where they got about a 45% increase to their assessed value. So, and then, well, I guess I'll expand this so you can see it. So then I took the data and I put it into ChatGPT and I told it, tell me what this means. And this is what it came back with. So the previous reval distribution was tightly clustered, slightly right skewed, a few high-end outliers, 10 to 30% increases. This go around, extreme upward and downward constructions, It's not a normal bell-shaped curve. It's strongly right-tailed, and it's a systemic reassessment event. So I just want everybody to understand, this is not a normal reval. Any conversations you've seen in the past about these sort of things, this is different. It is a systemic event where we are shifting away from commercial property values and putting that on homeowners.
And if I understand you correctly, you're saying that this is a statewide
Phenomenon. Yeah. It's not just happening to us. The exact same numbers are happening. Wellington had their reval last year, same thing.
Yeah.
Coventry, same thing. Now I'll also point out, Wellington's budget failed. Coventry's budget failed. Because the reval is so pronounced, it is a very challenging environment. So I just want everybody to understand that.
There's another thing too. If the town does not come within 10% of what the state says that our value should be, you have to do the reval all over again.
Okay. I don't think
There's
anybody's
actually
talking about
a range. Oh no, I double checked. It's been that way for many years. It hasn't changed.
And then this is just sort of talking about the tax impact, and I actually stole this largely from the town of Fairfield's, their presentation, and applied our numbers. Fairfield has a lot more resources and a lot more people to put together really great PowerPoints. So just overall, with this reval, most homeowners will see an increase in taxes due to residential property values rising faster than other categories. And those other categories are things like commercial property, motor vehicles, apartment complexes. And so when one category of property increases in value more than the other categories, it makes up a larger percentage of the grand list.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a shift. And it means homeowners will carry a greater share of the total taxes, i.e. your taxes are going to go up. And then vehicle taxes, I just point out that they will likely decrease, but it's not going to be enough to offset what is going to happen on the other side of homeowners. And I think that's it for that. Oh, okay. So any questions about that? I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot of data. I think the overarching thing I am hoping to communicate to everyone here is that this is not your typical reval. This is a very significant shift in tax burden towards homeowners, and it's going to be more difficult to create a budget and a spending plan that is palatable for a majority of people in town.
Christina, this is Paul. Could I say something?
Sure.
So, first of all, it's systemic in the sense that it probably hasn't happened in the last maybe 50, 40 years. It's not anything new. It's happened time and time again. If you go back through the history of the town of Ashford, there's been enormous shifts in tax burden. The one problem we all know we have in Ashford, it doesn't even matter about commercial property because we don't have any, per se. But when property values increase, there's going to be an increase in your taxes, not because your property value increased, but because we're still spending more money than we were last year. The mill rate calculation is what drives the actual tax dollar. So you'll see a significant change in the mill rate, hopefully, that will balance out. You're still going to have an increase, but the fact that we're shifting more towards residential property, again, especially in the town of Ashford, the commercial impact on property taxes, the commercial property impact on property taxes in the town of Ashford is basically non-existent. There's so little commercial property that the percentage doesn't even do anything to our tax base. So I don't want people to run scared and run around town going, oh my God, the taxes are going to increase because my property value went up. Yes, but no, the taxes are going up because we have to spend more money. We just listened to the Board of Ed present as to why, and other people are going to present in a couple weeks as to why. But it's not just because the we skewed everything to the right, so to speak. That's happened historically. Like I said, you can go through, if you go back through history, you'll see where the mill rate dropped substantially. And if you don't understand how the taxes work, then people are like, well, see, back then it went from this to this. That's why. Because during a reval, the numbers changed, the property values went up, and the mill rate is adjusted accordingly. So I just don't I agree the reval is important, that number is important, but I think that people need to understand that just because your property value went up, if you go do the math right now, you're going to lose your mind, rightfully so. That's not going to be what your tax bill is going to be this year. So
Well, we
that's
are going
all.
to do the math, because I am going to share the spreadsheet, and I'm going to look at different houses and show what the impact is. But thank you for your comment. Anybody else have any questions or comments about what I shared? Of board members? Okay, let me share the mill rate calculation for what we know today.
Personally, I think this is a bit premature because you don't have all the rest of the budget to look at.
Yeah, but I think it gives us a picture of where we're headed. So this document is a spreadsheet, and it shows, so I plugged in the numbers that we have so far. So we have Ashford's school budget at 9.1 million, and about a 3% increase. And then we have Region 19 at about a 4% increase. I left general government flat, but that's not going to stay flat. So we'll update that when that gets presented. And then I left the revenue, grants and fees flat, so we don't know that number yet. And then we have the new grand list number. So with this incomplete information, because we don't know what the general government is coming in at, where we end up is with a mill rate that goes down by about 8 points, 8 mils. And then if you look at the value of the house with the median value, which last year was $167,000 and has now gone up, that median value is now $240,000. That person, if somebody has that house, their taxes are going to go up 9% if we were to approve what we have right now, which again doesn't have general government baked into the equation. Now, if we look at, and now the challenge is, because of this reval, everybody's house is going up, pretty much everybody's going up, but at a different rate. So I can't say, well, you can't leave this room and go, well, everybody's taxes are going up 9%. That's not true. Some people's are going to go up more than that. Some people's are going to go down or go up less than that. So I went through and picked out different houses in town. I tried to pick, like a really basic ranch on a small piece of land. I picked a new house. I picked a huge old house. I picked a house with a lot of land to show. So if we were to go and say, this is our spending plan, this is our mill rate, what are the tax impacts going to be? So we have someone here who has a 49% increase in their assessment. Their taxes would go up 13%.
So a monthly of, what is that number?
$57.
$57?
Yep. A house with, and so I ordered this by assessed value increase, so it goes down. So as the assessment goes down, down slightly, we have someone with an 11% increase in taxes, a 10% increase in taxes, a 6%, and then on the lowest end, there's someone with a 3% increase and a 2% increase. So the challenge is going to be, the people on the low end are going to go, this sounds like a great budget. I'll vote for it, no problem. But then you're gonna have people on this end who are seeing a 13% increase in their taxes. They're probably gonna have a different opinion. And so that's what we have to be mindful of. And again, this isn't the full picture, right? If you add in general government another 3-4% increase, maybe something more, maybe something less, that 13% probably might be 15 or 16%. So that's the numbers we're talking about. I just want everybody to know. That's what we're looking at. And it's going to be very variable, and it's going to be a challenge to communicate to the community what all this means. And really it's going to come down to encouraging people to do the math to figure out what the tax impact is once we have more finalized numbers. And make sure that people understand what's happening. Does that make sense? Is it confusing, or is it making sense to people? Anybody?
To me, it makes sense.
And I'll just say, last reval, when we came down to the end and we had our spending plan, we were able to say that 25% of people in town would see a tax decrease. My concern is we're not going to be able to say that this time. Because of the nature of how this reval has shifted to the right, it's going to be an almost negligible number of people who will see a tax decrease, which will then make it a much harder sell at referendum.
Well, Christina, you know, the important thing is to get people into our meetings to hear this beforehand and not start complaining about it after the fact when the budgets are all set and everything. No one ever shows up from the town to be educated on what's happening with the taxes, property, whatever.
I can't disagree with you on that. We do
I
have
wish
some
we
people
could
in
do
the room
something.
tonight, but most of them are Board of Ed or school employees. Um,
Well, you know, last year, I believe it was, you did a presentation, you know, kind of an overview of where we were coming from. And I think it's also important that you're managing expectations. And so maybe when we have some more numbers, do something along the lines what you did last year. And again, of course, the turnout wasn't necessarily spectacular then, but at least it's an opportunity. Given to the citizens here.
Oh, does someone have their hand up?
Yeah.
Raise hand. One.
Ooh.
I don't know. Maybe that's leftover. Sometimes it gets left over. Okay. If there aren't any other questions on that, we can move on.
I just had one question. So based off of that, I guess, how do you think this budget is gonna, I don't know, how should we review the budgets going forward? Because I know like last year, there was talk, especially with like the Board of Ed and general, where it was you go to 3% or like, you know, only a 2% increase and that kind of thing. So are we gonna discuss anything of like putting a cap, or are we, you know, how can we review the budgets with the reval?
Yeah, I think to me, my approach is we then have to see the general government budget, and then we're off to the races. Then we know what we're dealing with, what the asks are, and then it becomes our responsibility as a Board of Finance to go, okay, what can we competently send to referendum with the belief that it will pass? That's our job. Our job is not to decide whether you use iPads or Starlink or whatever. It's not our job to decide how many firefighters are in the fire department or how nice the furniture at the senior center is or is not. Our job is to get a budget passed. That's it. And we, as a Board of Finance, have to feel confident that the numbers we have are reasonable, truthful, necessary, and that we can look our neighbors in the face and go, yeah, that is how much it costs, right? That's all it is at the end of the day. So once we get the general government budget, and I'll be able to say, okay, well, here's what that mill rate looks like now. Here's what that impact is on those 6 sample houses. I can also then do a full analysis of every property, every home in town, and say, here's what the average tax increase is. And I'll be able to say, I mean, hopefully I can say 1/4 of people are going to see their taxes go down. That would give me some confidence to say this is a budget that can pass. But I might do that analysis and go, you know what? With this spending, no one sees a tax decrease, and the high end is a 20% increase for a couple homeowners. That could happen. That's not possible. So we have to really dig into the numbers. And then we will have to make decisions about what we think can pass at referendum. Because we don't want a budget to fail. It's miserable, and it's time consuming, and it doesn't end up in a good result for anybody. So.
And it just costs more money.
Costs more money. So we have to get to a place as a Board of Finance where we feel confident this is a reasonable spending plan. And we have to keep in mind that Region 19 number we don't have control over, which is why I keep bringing it up. Because it has an impact on our bottom line, but I can't control it.
I get that. I do. I just feel like we're one community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I look at it. And there are certain things in this community I believe strongly in our safety. I believe strongly in our fire department, which would be our safety. I believe strongly in what our community can provide from our government services for the seniors, for the, we're a rural community, and we really need to depend on one another often. And the school is one of the hubs of the community. So I hear what you're saying. I just, as a taxpayer, as a community member, I can take that hat off of superintendent and say, I want to live in a community and know that when I go to move on from the community, I have something of value that people will want to come to the town, and people want to come to a town with good services and safe and a good school system. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, we all came here for reasons. And it is because it's a small community, and unfortunately, if you want to preserve the small community, it falls on our backs to preserve that small community. So,
Very true.
I don't know if that makes sense, but.
No, I think it makes sense. I do. Okay, any other comments from Board of Finance members before we move on?
Judy has her hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Judy.
So this is just a thought. If we continue to go higher and higher in this town, we're not going to attract younger families to come in with more children either, because they can't afford it. So when we think about raising taxes every year, we ought to look at what's sustainable, because your interest in keeping the school or the fire department or anything else relies on the income of younger people coming in. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Judy. I think that's a point well taken.
You know, also too, the other side of the coin to what Judy said is that you do have people here on limited incomes that maybe their rates go up, but then they're at the breaking point, the tipping point, and then they end up leaving.
Yeah, I would just encourage everybody to talk to people they know in town and just feel them out. How you feeling? Would you support a budget? What kind of tax increase would you support? That's really, at the end of the day, we're asked to like put our finger in the wind and go, is this going to pass? And the only way you can know that or get a sense of it is by talking to people. I would love for them to all show up in this meeting and tell me how they feel, but we've already discussed that that's a challenge. Okay. We can move on. There'll be more numbers discussed, no doubt about that. We did add an agenda item to discuss conflicts of interest. So I just want to preface this conversation by saying this is a small town. There's only so many people who volunteer for these things. We are all biased human beings. That's the nature of being a human being. I want to kind of flush out and sort of in public on the record, and oh dear, my battery is running low. So we might have to make this conversation quick. I do just want to go, just sort of air out what any potential conflicts of interest, what do people need to know about who we are and what our roles outside of the Board of Finance are. And this has come up in the past, particular to Paul, which I'll share something specific to that when we get to that conversation. I'll just say for myself, I have 2 children in schools. I have a child in Ashford School. I have a child in Region 19. I have a vested interest in them having a good education, and I want them to succeed. So I would say that that puts me, that's a bias that I have. I also like to participate in Parks and Rec events, so I like to see their stuff. And I go to the library, right? So we all participate. Are there others that want to share what their potential conflict of interest might be, or what other hats they wear in town, to let people know?
Yes, well, I'm Keith Lipker, and I'm chair of the transfer station committee, the selectmen's committee for the transfer station. We're looking at various changes there, for particular the bulky waste, which is costing us more. We're not getting anything for that. There's no like at one time we would get money for metals, different things of that sort. We were getting a small amount, let's say, for cardboard, but that's gone away now. We're actually paying for hauling cardboard. So I was approached to participate with the budget discussions for the DPW, especially as pertains to the transfer station, which I declined because I felt that that was something that would be more of a conflict since I'm on the Board of Finance. And then, of course, for years I was on the Zoning Board of Appeals, but our budget was minuscule compared to everybody else's, so there was no complaint there, let's put it that way.
And to be clear, I haven't received any specific complaints, but again, this is going to be, I believe, a challenging year to get a budget passed. So I want to make sure that we're just transparent so that people understand what our points of view are. Anybody else have anything they want to add in terms of conflicts of interest or different perspectives? Okay, I do want to bring up, so Paul, who is on our board, who I respect very much and appreciate his contributions, does wear another hat in town. He is the fire chief. So that organization is a 501c3 nonprofit. It is a separate entity from the town. However, its largest source of revenue comes from the town, and it is a part of the general government budget. So back in 2024, when I first became chair, I had been told prior to becoming chair, that we had had a town attorney opinion that said there is no conflict of interest to have the fire chief be on the Board of Finance. It's all good. And I said, okay, great. Can I see that in writing? And apparently it was never put in writing. So then I requested, okay, great. I'd like to see that in writing. So I do have that document just to share so everybody has it. And Paul, I shared this with you earlier today. You can pass, maybe went down to Haley. I'll forward this. I know, Judy, you would have seen this a couple years ago, but I'll resend it so everybody has it. Pam, Judy, Tim, Val, Rob. I think that's everybody. Okay. So I can share this letter on the screen as well. If I can open it, sorry. Downloads. Okay. Share to. Okay. So again, you can see this is dated February 7th, 2024, so it's a couple years old. And this was actually through our first selectwoman, Catherine. It says, you know, you've asked for our thoughts regards to possible conflict of interest whereby Paul Varga, the fire chief of the Ashford Volunteer Fire Department, presents the annual ABFD budget request to the Board of Finance, which he is also a member. It goes through some legal mumbo jumbo. And then the final analysis, which is the operating principle I have been operating under, is based upon these principles. It is our belief that Mr. Vargas should not present the annual budget proposal for the AVFD to the Board of Finance. Furthermore, he should not partake in any Board of Finance discussion or decision specifically directed toward the proposed AVFD budget. Notwithstanding, we do not believe it would be a conflict for Mr. Varga to vote on the overall general budget or on any proposed reduction to the overall budget, since these issues are not specifically related to the AVFD, but rather deal with overall budgeting issues. So that's the attorney opinion. Paul, I just want to give you an opportunity to comment. Because I think I brought up this letter today when I spoke to you, and I think maybe you were a little surprised that I brought it up. So.
Oh, no, I'm not surprised. I have the letter too, back from, what was it, 24?
Okay.
I have nothing, I'm not sure what you want me to say. I
You don't have to
disagree
say
with.
anything.
Well, no, here, I'll tell you what my thinking is. I disagree with the opinion, because the legal references are regarding people who had personal gain involved in the decision of the board. I have no personal gain involved in the budget for the fire department. I'm a volunteer fire chief. I am not compensated at all at any level. I get nothing, $0. I get nothing for my fuel. I get no tax abatement, nothing. Back in 24, at the time, I was receiving compensation for the administrative to prevent the conflict. We assigned that to another person on the department to prevent the conflict. As the fire chief, I am responsible for the budget of the fire department. It's part of my duties. To ask somebody else to explain it, it just seems like an exercise in futility. We'll just be trading questions around the room. When I spoke with you earlier today, I said that during the general budget presentation, when those questions would be brought up, I'm more than willing to not be seated on the Board of Finance and answer the questions as the fire chief and not be involved in the discussions that about the budget, the fire department budget, and be able to answer the questions. If that's not satisfactory, then I have nothing else. There's nothing else I can do. That's it. Discussion over, I guess.
I'm just curious what other people have to say. What are other people's thoughts? So I think, just to back up, I think in the past few years, Paul has not presented the volunteer fire department budget to this board, per this town attorney opinion. He's had another representative from the fire department do that presentation and answer the questions. But it sounds like you feel like this year, Paul, that's not tenable, that's not a successful way to move forward.
Well, the honest truth is that in the last 2 years that's happened, all that's happened is exactly what I just said. The questions are asked by the board members. I put the answers together, give it to somebody to read the answers, and then if there's a follow-up question that person can't answer, eventually it comes back to me later on. So all it does is make more work for me. So, and quite honestly, the other person, and there's a delay in the answers. That's all. It seems like it's and in this case, with everything going on this year, it's going to be a colossal waste of time, for me, for the board, for for the public, and for the fire department. And I don't have the time to waste.
Can I jump in? Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but when this opinion came out, at the time, because of some of the duties that you were doing on behalf of the fire department, you did receive some type of compensation, which since has been eliminated because by somebody else taking over the task that you were being compensated for. So I always looked at it that was kind of what was behind this. May not say that directly, but since Paul has no financial, not that he had a financial interest, because given what he did, I don't think he got compensated enough for all that extra work he was doing.
So sorry, just to interrupt. My laptop's going to die, but I am logged into the Zoom on my phone, so hopefully we stay on.
So I don't know if that would recall for like revisiting this, since he has no skin in the game as financially.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the reason though? Like financially? Or is it just that he's the fire chief?
At the time that this came up, that was what was...
That was the issue?
That was behind this.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
That's my take on it from that time period.
I mean, what do board members feel in regards to what Paul is saying? That, I just want to know I want to make sure we all know what the rules are and that we play them fairly and transparently. So, we were given this guidance by the town attorney. We could go back and say, circumstances have changed. Do you revise your opinion based on the fact that this person is still the fire chief but does not get compensation? Or do we say, we have a perfectly good opinion from the town attorney, and while it's a little awkward, that's what we have to do?
Does it say anything under like the Board of Finance purview about the position? Like if a member holds two positions or something?
It says there is an ordinance about conflict of interest, and it's specific to Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, you're back.
Sorry, laptop died. So there is an ordinance, a town ordinance regarding conflicts of interest, but it's specific to if you are a town employee, you can't be on a board, I believe. That's my recollection. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But because the fire department is a separate legal entity from the town, anyone doing work for that organization is not a town employee. So that's why we went to the town attorney, because we couldn't answer it with a simple, here's what the ordinance says.
I think it's, that's something to revisit. I mean, Paul, with his knowledge and ability to communicate, I think that you have to have somebody like him to respond to that. I'm also cognizant of the importance that the fire department plays in public safety. And last time, what we went through with, the ramifications of a tight budget on the fire department and, emergency services in general. And if there was ever a case to be made for any, in looking at their budget, which I have not seen yet, but I understand, the concerns that they have that if they were to shrink further, that maybe it's time to ask to be revisited, pointing out that Paul is not a town employee
And not compensated.
and not compensated. I just think that, well, that's just the way I feel.
Mhm.
May I say something?
Sure, go ahead, Pam.
I've never gotten the impression that Paul has been biased when he's presented or put together budgets, and especially this one coming up. I am familiar with it from attending the Board of Selectmen meeting and hearing it, and I thought it was a very, very good and compelling presentation that he did, and yet I never felt that he was somehow benefiting from it in any way. It seems that he is very concerned with the safety and how the fire department is functioning at its maximum to keep us all safe. I've just and if he's not being compensated and isn't an employee, for goodness sakes, he should be allowed to speak. He's the most knowledgeable at the firehouse. So anyway, that was just my feeling.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the Board of Finance members?
Would you have to have a separate meeting for him to present it if he's not able to participate? If it's, because wouldn't it be included with the general government?
Right, so the way we've kind of gotten around it is the general government budget is presented by the first select person.
Yeah.
And so she presents it and goes, here's what the general government budget is, and the fire department is one line item in that. And then there might be question, she might say the fire department is asking for an X% increase because they need full-time paid firefighters 7 days a week. We had coverage 5 days a week. Like, I think that's kind of where we were previously. And so she basically advocated for that change, right? And then there were questions in the past where you go, okay, well, how many hours and who's doing what and full-time equivalents? And then there were members of the fire department in the room who answered those questions.
Okay.
But what I think I hear Paul saying is he is concerned that this year, that he needs to be the one answering the questions.
Oh, so he wouldn't actually like present the budget, so like selectmen would still be like, they're looking
Right.
for this percentage, so, but then only if there were questions. It's not like he would make his own separate presentation for it.
Right, yeah, we typically
Okay.
don't do that.
Oh.
Yeah. So
So,
go ahead.
sorry, it's Val. I don't
Yep.
know if you can see my hand up or not because I know you're on your phone. So I guess that brings up a question for me because I am the deputy registrar for the town. So I am a town employee. But I have nothing to do with budget. Like the registrars do the budget. Um, and when I ran for this position, I was told it wasn't a problem, but I don't know if that needs to be revisited or not.
So you do get a salary of some sort?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yes, so maybe we ask 2 questions to the town attorney. And I could be wrong, but my recollection is there is an issue with if you're drawing a salary from the town that is an issue. I could be wrong, but I thank you for disclosing that, Val. And I think
Yeah, let's check into that.
Val,
Jeez, yes.
is what you're compensated for, is that an item that's set by the state?
No.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would be comfortable, and this, I think this maybe, this is good that we're having this conversation, and I think it's worth asking the question. So I would be comfortable, find it reasonable to go, I can email the town attorney and say, there are two questions we have. One, you gave us this opinion in 2024 specific to the fire chief. We want you to know that, circumstances changed where he is not compensated in any way. Does that change your opinion in any way? So we can ask that. And then we also have an alternate who is deputy registrar drawing a salary. Is that an issue given any ordinances?
And also with Paul, he technically, if he's an employee, he's not an employee of the town.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't even think I don't know. He's an officer of that organization, but probably not an employee since he isn't paid. Right.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't be if he's employed by anybody, it's by the organization, but that is not a town owned.
Mhm. So,
So,
oh, go ahead, Judy.
oh, sorry. I didn't know if you saw my hand or not. So for Val, I don't think it'll have any effect because she is in no authority of position to do the final budgets. Like I think the problem with Paul was he was the head of the organization or one of the officers of the organization that was getting paid making the budget, where Val is a registrar and not really involved in the budget process itself. So I think, yeah, the lawyer will probably cut it out more clearly.
Yeah, I think I
Probably
think
that both of them, there won't be an issue, but I would ask him anyway.
okay. Well, it sounds like there's some consensus around going back to the town attorney as I described. I would like to get a motion so that it's a board decision. It's not just my decision. So would someone be willing to make a motion for me to ask the town attorney regarding the 2 issues we discussed tonight?
I will motion.
Okay, Judy made the motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh, Keith seconded it. Keith Flipker. Any more discussion on this?
Well, I think that if you do this, it'll be very clear, it'll be recorded, and if anybody has an issue, it's already done. So we'll all be saved a little drama later down the road.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm gonna abstain, Christina. Paul.
Okay. Oh, I can't see everybody. Okay, so the motion passed with one abstention. Just Paul, yep. All right, thank you. I appreciate everybody having that conversation. Again, this is a small town. I get it. There's only so many people willing to do these jobs. I just think we have to be really clear and transparent. And we also need to be able to answer to questions from the community if they come up. So I appreciate that, and I think we're on the road to having that clarified. I think we have, I can't see the agenda because my computer died. Is it just remarks for the good of the board? I just appreciate everybody's time, and thanks to the school administration and the Board of Ed for spending the time this evening. And I appreciate the Board of Finance and having the patience to listen to me talk about numbers and assessed values and et cetera. And with the agenda items for the next meetings, we'll have, the next big one is the general government presentation, which is on March 5th. And so we'll follow a similar process where we'll get the budget on a Friday. It'll be shared with the Board of Finance members over the weekend. We'll get the questions to the general government, to the first select woman on that Monday, so that then she can come in with answers and be somewhat prepared. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
I don't know. Who did?
No, I think it was.
Judy?